Hi guys, Stephen here. Will Chris Jericho leave AEW? That's a question I want to put out there. Um, Jericho. Now, when it was first announced that Jericho was going to be signing to All Elite Wrestling, and this was, I think, it was the beginning of 2019. And this was, about 3 months before having AEW had their first show. My honest opinion when I first heard the news was that Jericho would probably be gone. He would be there at AEW and be gone within maybe 2 or 3 years. That was my honest opinion. And why? I mean, to me, Jericho was just just a WWE guy. I mean, think of all the time that he had spent in WWE. He had been in WWE for about what was it now, 17 years. I mean, yeah, he had 2 years when he was off, but overall around about 15 years in the company. I mean, to me, he was a WWE guy through and through. But he joined AEW. I think there was maybe a little bit of heat there he had with Vince. There was some heat there, I think, going back to the WrestleMania 33 match, that he had with Kevin Owens. I don't think he was happy. I don't think he was happy that it went from potentially good. It was going to be a Universal title match, and then it went to being a US from a Universal title match to a US title match, and it was the second match in the card. And also, Vince, crapped on the match. He didn't like it. I don't think necessarily Jericho was to blame for that. I think with the match, there was just it lacked. There needed to be a few more kind of psychology spots in the match, which was lacking. I know Jericho said that Vince also thought that Owens was working like a babyface and not like a heel, and I think that was part of the problem as well. It's just they never really told the story fully. With that feud was about 8 months in the make. It was about 8 months when they had got together at SummerSlam 2016, but it was just overall at that match they never told a good story. But honestly, I don't think Jericho was to blame for that. But anyway, Jericho, joins AEW. The very first show, he's in the main event with Kenny Omega, and he wins the title. And at this point, Jericho, he signs with AEW early 2019, and Jericho is the biggest. He is the biggest star. Really, he is their biggest star. But Jericho joins, wins, he wins the title of the first show, and then in the end, Moxley comes out, and Moxley attacks Jericho, attacks Omega. Him and Omega really go at it, and so yeah, you got another big star in Moxley. But really though, when you think about it, I mean, ever since he's joined AEW, Jericho has been flying the flag for AEW. Jericho is always, defending the company when he does, when he's doing interviews or if he's on his podcast or he's tweeting stuff. He's always defending AEW. He's always kind of like sticking up for AEW, when WWE talent are trying to be kind of cute and they're making little digs about AEW. There was the whole thing about when they had the blood and guts match, and it was the bump from the top of the cage, and it was bad. It was bad with the camera angle, and you could see it was just a bunch of boxes he fell on, and but Jericho, he put those two girls in their place, saying, well, hey, don't come here looking for a job when you get released, and hey, a bit harsh, but he's being honest, and that's one thing about Jericho I like. And Jericho also, he's always, putting over Tony Khan. Always putting over Tony Khan for being a great boss, for being a great boss who takes care of the talent, takes care of the crew, takes care of, everyone there. He's always, he's got nothing bad to say about Tony Khan, But I think one thing about Jericho, though, is that, I think when Jericho, they have the first Dynamite show, and then he establishes, the faction, the Inner Circle, Sammy Guevara, Proud and Powerful, Santana Ortiz, and Jake Hager. And I think if I had to guess, I think Jericho in his mind felt that down the line, that Hager, potentially down the line, Jake Hager would turn babyface on him. He would turn on him. And I think that's to him at that point back then, to him there was money. There was money in Jericho and Hager. Because they never really had a program. I mean, funny enough, Hager, the one time he won the belt, he cashed in Money in the Bank and he beat Jericho back in 2010, like the SmackDown after WrestleMania. But I think he really, in his mind at that point, 2 years ago, he did see money in a Hager Jericho program. Maybe not necessarily would have gone that in 2010. Maybe, in his mind it would have, maybe 2 years later, from 2019. I don't know. But then, yeah, in the end, Jericho, had a feud with Cody, and it was the feud was so. It was good overall, I would say. And then after that, he had the feud with Moxley. Moxley feud, I don't think was as good as the Cody one. It was all right, but I wouldn't say it was great. I wasn't really a huge fan of it. And there was just one thing for me when Moxley beats Jericho for the belt, right? And the Dynamite after the pay-per-view. Dynamite after the big show. And Jericho comes out right on the stage with the Inner Circle. After Moxley's in the ring, he does the promo, then Jericho comes out and they're at the stage. And then Jericho isn't angry like the heel normally would be, demanding a rematch. And Jericho's there, he's putting over Moxley. He's talking how the Moxley era's begun, it's going to be great. And I'm thinking, in my head, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you saying this? This isn't like, I mean, and you're supposed to have all this creative control, right? So, I mean, is this Tony Khan that was writing this? Was this Jericho that came up with this stuff? But to me, this was wrong. I mean, to me, I think you have another rematch. You could have a week after you have like a cage match or something. You know what I mean? But don't just give up and say, the Moxley era is going to be great after he beat you. The heel doesn't do that. No way. And then, Jericho, after that, a few months later, he starts a feud with Orange Cassidy. Cassidy, okay. There was a couple of entertaining moments in that feud. The debate was kind of all right. And yeah, he was just really trying hard, I guess, to get this guy over. People always say with Jericho that he's kind of like, latches on to people that are kind of cool and popular. But I think at the end of the time, to be honest, Jericho is very selfless. I think you've got to give him that. I mean, Jericho's, I remember back, was it 2010? He put Evan Bourne over clean, I think Jericho has good intentions. I know it's unfair to say, he's got hidden agenda and he just latches on to what's cool, but that's what a lot of people say. That's what, the Cornettes of the world say. Cornette, and his co-host of his podcast, But whatever, But, the feud with Cassidy, that was okay. And then, later, the feud with MJF. Well, the MJF feud, I think, started okay. I mean, the whole thing of, do you want to join the Inner Circle? No, Chris, do you want me to join? That whole thing, and that went on. Maybe that dragged on a little bit, but I suppose, that whole segment thing with the steak dinner that led to the musical. Yeah, okay, it was all right, a little kind of funny. I wouldn't, I wasn't one of those that was gonna. I wouldn't totally shit on it, but I didn't think it was that brilliant either, which a lot of the AEW fanboys would say that was one of the best things ever. No, it was okay. It was kind of funny, but. And then, the Vegas Night Out, which was that parody of the Hangover films. There was a few funny moments there. No complaints about that. But to me, I think with this whole Jericho MJF thing, it's just the feud didn't end well. I just felt like the feud did not end well. I think, really, MJF should have gone over at the end. He really should have gone over at the end. I don't know why. I mean, is this just... Would this have been MJF's call for Jericho to go over the end? Because to him, it's, in the end, the good guy prevails. He gets the last laugh or whatever. I don't know. I wasn't really a fan of the whole... I think it would have been better to really... to end the to end the whole feud, I mean, you have the blood and guts match. And then even if you have Inner Circle go over, I think that would have been a much better way. I think doing that whole match at the start, I don't think was the way to go at all. I think there was a few things that went wrong with this feud. But overall, it had its moments. It was okay. But to me, I mean, I'm putting the question out there, will Chris Jericho leave AEW? And part of the reason I'm asking this is, to me, to me, the way I see it, will Chris Jericho, with all the stuff that he's accomplished in his career, will Chris Jericho want to keep carrying on doing mid-card shit like he's doing right now? The mid-card shit he's doing now with Ethan Page, Scorpio Sky, whatever it is they're called, that other MMA guys are hiring with them, that was it America's Top Team. And listen, I'm going to give, I've got to give Dan Lambert credit. I think Dan Lambert is very, good with his promos, I always feel like with the stuff that he talks about, the content, it's always like, I don't know if this is intentional, but it's kind of like a cross between Jim Cornette and Vince Russo with his views on wrestling. I generally feel like it's almost like a tribute to Cornette and Russo, or maybe you could some way say a parody. That's just to me, But